For this week's video, I'm going to go into more of a selling scenario. Now we're working on open-ended and closed-ended questions, when to use them, how to ask them, what kind of question to ask in certain situations. This specific situation is going to be trying to sell a doctor on using Helix and Versalock for his double row rotator cuff repairs. Now before I get into specific questions, it's kind of important to me that I've learned through talking to some of the members of our team what we're trying to get at when asking questions to a doctor, when approaching a doctor. One of the most important aspects of asking questions is to determine what the need of the doctor is. So you're always going to find three things. You're going to find the features and benefits of a product, that's two. And then three, which is the hardest part to understand, is discovering what value that product, that those features and benefits can bring to fulfill the need of a surgeon. So the first step that we've kind of uncovered and decided upon is your approach step, is earning the right, as Tom Bailey would say. This is establishing your relationship with a doctor, being able to ask questions, not necessarily positioning your product or putting your product on him right away, but setting yourself up by asking questions that are going to lead in to better positioning your product. So some ways that you can do this is going to be establishing your relationship. You're going to want to do your research on the doctor if you can. Research on the hospital, see if they've gotten any recent grants, anything that you can talk about, anything you can congratulate them on, because it's always important to know that doctors love to speak. They love to speak about themselves, what they're doing, what they're using, things like that. So once you can segue into the basic, hey, I was reading an article in the New York Times, about the new healthcare plan that's in place. What are your thoughts on this? Get the doctor talking, and then while you're in there, you can ask him a few closed questions. An example could be, hey doc, for rotator cuff repairs, do you do a single row or double row? So he's going to be able to give you a very straightforward answer as to what method he prefers. You could also then ask him, do you do mini open, or arthroscopic repairs when dealing with your rotator cuffs? So again, these are going to be very, very simple questions that are going to give you simple answers. But as you do these closed-ended questions, you can then segue into your open-ended questions, which I think are the most beneficial in this aspect and in this scenario. So my main objectives to asking an open-ended question to a doctor are going to be, what does this doctor use? When does this doctor, use this product? And why does this doctor use this product? So let's just say the doctor says, I do an open rotator cuff repair. I could say, if you don't mind me asking, what anchors do you use in this procedure? And if he responds and says, I'm an Arthrex guy, so now you have the what does he use, and the when, because you set it up by asking him what he uses for this procedure. And now the big question that you're going to get your best answer from is, doctor, why did you choose that Arthrex anchor? Why do you use this product? So now this is going to open up the door. This is going to give him his opportunity to educate you. Doctors are educators. They've been around education their whole life. So 9 times out of 10, they're going to be more than willing to really open up and speak to you about why they use something. So as they answer this question, why do they use a product? On my end, I can begin to filter out, what is important to him. What is it? Safety? Is it size? Is it material? And again, I can ask him this in forms of open-ended questions as well. So I could say, I see that you use a PEEK material. Is what the anchor is made of? Is that important to you? Are materials important to you? He could either say yes or no. And if he says yes, then you can make a mental note that Helix PEEK might be something that that he would be interested in. So also you can talk, as he's filtering it out. It's like a filter. So you start him at the top of the filter. You want to break him in. You want to build a relationship. As he begins to move down your filter, you're going to get more more specifics. You're going to start to understand what he wants in a product, what his ideal anchor is. So you can even segue that into an open-ended question. Hey doctor, I know, very, very few instances is something perfect to you. If you could have a perfect anchor, what characteristics would it have? So again, here you're kind of steering him in a direction to talk about materials, pull-out strength. You could ask him if he has a preference of how many sutures are loaded into the anchor. You could ask him. You could ask him a question. Does he have a preference of what suture? What are characteristics of a suture that that he finds valuable in his surgeries? So when you do this, if you're learning about sutures, you could then segue again into. Have you ever heard of orthocord? That's always a big selling point for us because every anchor that we have, is threaded with orthocord. So as you begin to use these open-ended and closed-ended questions in the developing stage, you're going to start to understand the doctor's needs. And then once you decide what the doctor's needs are, you can then begin to educate the doctor. A lot of doctors are teachers, but they're constantly learning. They're in a field that's constantly changing, constantly evolving, so they're constantly learning. So I might have a piece of knowledge that they don't know about. They might not know about our BioAcryl Rapide. They might not know about our orthocord. And if I position my questions well enough, I will then be in a spot to where, I heard, what you don't like about Arthrex is, you don't like the fact that they don't have a biocomposite. We'll just use this as an example. So now that they've answered and told you that what they want is a biocomposite, you can start bringing in Helix BR. You can bring that to the picture and describe what BR is. You open yourself up a window. So it's very very important that when you ask questions to a doctor, you have your end goal in your head. So you almost want to ask questions that will steer them down the path to kind of set them up for you to ask them questions. So once you determine your values, your needs of the doctors, you can then hit them with features and benefits that cater to their needs. A lot of times doctors aren't going to have a whole bunch of time to sit with the sales rep and have the sales rep run down the rap sheet of features and benefits. It's very, very important that you understand what features and benefits they like about what they're using or what they like in general, and then use those as your selling points. And there's going to be my tech's going to have things that an Arthrex product doesn't have, which is then going to open up your window of opportunity to educate that doctor on what we have. Another example, you could ask, what do you use for suture passing in your rotator cuffs? That's going to they'll say Scorpion. So then you could come back at a closed-ended question. Have you ever heard of our Espresso? And if they haven't, then you can run down the features and benefits of the Espresso. Or if they're using Scorpion, doctor, what do you like about Scorpion? So you can really get down to the wants and needs of what a doctor has. So once you've established your wants and needs, you need to start getting into what features and benefits are going to provide value to that doctor. Now, this is something that you're going to have to decide on a case-by-case basis because each doctor is going to have a different value. I mean, some products might provide the same value to multiple doctors, but it's important to understand that the products are going to have the same features and benefits all across the board in our portfolio. Helix Peak's features and benefits are going to be the same no matter who you tell them to. But the value of that Helix is going to change for the doctor. So the feature and benefit of Helix Peak, we can just say, it has the 5 cortical, 5 cancellous threads, and if a doctor, if you ask him, what's important to you for your rotator cuff anchor, if he says, a big thing for me that I'm not getting right now is, cortical fixation. I don't want to even have a thought in my mind that anchor is going to pull out. So his need is he wants cortical fixation. You can bring Helix to the table. A feature and benefit is the 5 cortical threads, and then the value for him is he's going to save money because anchors aren't going to pull out. If an anchor, because if an anchor pulls out, he has the possibility of losing business. He has the possibility of getting a bad reputation. So the value to him with Helix is going to be he doesn't have to worry about revisions or reputation or things like that. So the value of him having satisfied customers could be greater than someone's value of, hey, maybe someone just wants great, flexible, strong suture in their anchors. So you could use OrthoCord. That's a feature and benefit of the anchor. But the value is not going to be the cortical fixation for that doctor. The value is going to be having the OrthoCord built into the anchor. So as you can see, there's many ways to use questioning to leverage yourself into a great sales position. And open and closed-ended questions go hand in hand. And if you have the ability to link closed-end to open up yourself for open-ended questions, you're going to be ultimately successful. And also, one thing that I also discussed with Ken and Tom was closed-ended questions are great for the end. Whether it's, would you like to place an order? Would you like to do a trial? Would you like to set up a lunch? Closed-ended questions like this, in my personal opinion, I think, are the most effective towards the end. And to start a conversation with open-ended questions, I think is going to make you more successful as you start to uncover the wants and the needs of the surgeon. So that's all I have for open-ended versus closed-ended questions. There were some examples thrown in there. I look forward to speaking to you all next week with a new video. Hope your weekend's great and you all stay dry. Have a good one.